Hi, everyone. My name is Stefan Schuster, and welcome to episode 11 of the Journey Running Podcast. In this episode, I welcome my good friend Brian Steiner to the show. Brian is a two-time Leadman Finisher, an Ironman, and a competitive cyclist. Really excited to have him on today, mostly because he is one of my really good friends, but mostly because he's just one of the toughest and one of the most supportive people I've been able to meet through just the sport of ultra running. And he's somebody I really look up to as well. The mission of Journey Running is to help people become better individuals through overcoming adversity. And I think that Brian really embodies that value. So I'm excited for people to hear this episode. In this episode, we dive into a few different topics. Mainly, we dive into Brian's experience running the Leadville Race Series events as he is a Leadman, meaning that he has completed the Leadville 100-mile endurance run twice as well. So we get into that too. And we also go into how his training evolved from the first time he completed Leadman in 2019 to the second time that he did it in 2021. On top of that, we also talk about a bunch of different races that Brian and I have paced each other at. I've actually been able to pace Brian at both of his Leadville 100 races, and then Brian's also paced and crewed me over the last few years at a few different races as well. He paced me at my first 100-mile race. He paced me at the Bear 100, and then he also paced and crewed me at the Moab 240. So overall, a really great episode, and I hope to have Brian on again because I felt like we could have covered even more subjects than the ones we were able to today. Before we get started, I just wanted to go over a few things real quick. First, I do know that I haven't put out a podcast since February 7th, so I just wanted to recognize the fact that in the first episode of the Journey Running Podcast, I said that my goal was to put out 2 episodes per month, which is still something that I'm trying to do, but I'm just going to be honest and say that until May, that's probably not going to be the case. I graduate from grad school with my master's degree in just over a month now, so I have a lot of projects that are finishing up before then for school. Also just regular work, doing running coaching, and also training myself for races that are coming up in the next few months. But with that said, if you who's listening, or if you know anybody who might be interested in running coaching, please do feel free to reach out to myself directly at journeyrunningllc@gmail.com, or you can find out more about myself or the podcast and what Journey Running is at my website, journeyruncoaching.com. But without further ado, really appreciate you guys tuning in today. I think you're going to get a lot out of today's episode, but I'm going to hand this off to my good friend, Brian.
Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Lean on me.
Amazing. Well, welcome to the Journey Running Podcast, Brian. It is a pleasure to have you. Thank you for serenading us. This is not the first time you've serenaded me, which I very much appreciate. Brian was my pacer at a 100-mile race and started singing to me at mile 70 in the middle of the night one time. But yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on, Brian. You were just showing me Brian is a 2-time Leadman finisher, and you were just showing me the pickaxe that you got from one of them. You were telling me you were using it for a project of some sort recently?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of housework. So I figure I've got 2 of these. And I mean, what else am I going to do with them? Just let them sit around and catch a little dust, you know? I figured might as well do some actual work with it. So I was tearing out some drywall and stuff, replacing stuff like that. And I figured, what the heck? I'm just going to go at it with the pickaxe that I have.
Yeah, so for people who are listening to this instead of watching this on YouTube, Brian is a 2-time Leadman finisher. Do you want to explain to people what exactly that is? And then just so people know what Brian was just holding in his hand, it was this giant pickaxe you get for running the Leadville Series that Brian has completed twice now. But I'll let you explain that for people.
Yeah, sure. So the Leadman, now called Lead Challenge, starts off with doing the Leadville Marathon in June. About 3 to 4 weeks later, you get to do one or both. You're only required to do one of the 50-mile events, which is a Silver Rush 50, either mountain bike or trail run. And then about a month later, you come back again and do the Leadville 100-mile mountain bike. The next day, you do the Leadville 10K. And the following weekend, you finish everything off by doing the Leadville 100 run. And once you completed all that, then you're officially Leadman.
There you go. I'm sure the hardest event of them all is that 10K.
That's surprisingly hard. You go at it thinking it's only a 10K. I'm trained up for 100, but you're not trained for speed anymore.
That's funny. And just so people also know, I think both years, but I know for a fact the first year you did Leadman, like you said, when you're doing Leadman, you have the option in July to either run or bike the 50-miler because they take place on a Saturday and a Sunday. But you're just a badass, so you did both. I know the first time. I think you did both the second time too.
Yeah, I did both times. I'm definitely more of a mountain biker. I'm really not much of a runner. But the 50-mile bike was the day after, and I figured I've always been a mountain biker. I'm not worried about riding on tired legs, so I figured I'd do the 50-mile run, make sure I can do the distance, and then 50-mile bike will be maybe not a walk in the park, but a lot easier than doing a 50-mile run on tired legs.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is exactly why you're invited to the podcast. It's because you're one of my favorite people in the entire world. I tell so many people about you because you're a badass, but like also you're so mentally tough, and I really admire that about you. So I'm really happy that we could do this tonight and get this episode recorded. But also you're a lot more than just a Leadman. You're a really good friend, and I want to let you introduce yourself to the world. Who is Brian Steiner for those who do not know you, who you are, what's your background with endurance sports, or whatever else you want to share about yourself and your cute little doggo that you were just showing off.
So I've been a mountain biking my entire life. I don't remember learning how to ride a bike. To put it in a little bit of perspective, I've done races throughout my life. I didn't get too serious until college. I did a triathlon. Figured it was a very short one. I figured I can run a couple miles. I can swim for several lengths to the pool, and I can obviously bike. I think it was 12 miles. So I did that. And I enjoyed that. Did a couple more a few years in a row, and then decided I need to start running if I want to be serious at that. So I started doing more events, getting a little quicker, a little more endurance with respect to running. Did first half. I don't remember what year it was. Sometime in college, I did my first half. Did a few of those. And then 2015, I stepped it up and did my first full marathon. That was training for later in the year. Me and my dad actually both did that and full Ironman together later that year.
That's awesome.
And then kind of continued with endurance-ish stuff, mostly half distance. I really enjoy that because you can do that without getting too much, killing yourself too much, and not a ton of recovery or anything like that. But 2018, I did a second Ironman. Ended up getting in Leadville. 2019, I guess I should clarify. 2018, I did just the bike. 2019, I came back and did everything. Had a friend convince me, and that's when I met Stefan. That's when I met you, man. Found you on one of the Facebook pages randomly.
Yeah,
I
it
think
wasn't
I think
even
my
you. It was,
dad tagged me in a post that you made,
yeah.
and afterwards you told me I was the second person that contacted you.
Yeah,
Uh,
so the first person was some woman responded because I posted on one of the groups was like, who needs a pacer? And a woman responded and then said no. I just went by like whoever responds first, I'll pace for. But yeah, your dad was like the second person, so thank God that that first person bailed.
yeah, that was cool. I was glad. And I remember talking to you. I was like, well, I can have 50 miles of a pacer. What sections do you want? What section do you want to do? You said, I can do everything if you want. He ended up doing 38 miles with me, since my dad was doing that last about approximately half marathon of that 100, and then skipped out on 2020, obviously, just like everybody. Came back 2021 and did everything again. Got you to pace me again. Same thing with my dad, except you did, what was it, 10 miles less because of a different start point for the Pacers.
Hmm.
Um, Last year skipped out on it again, and this year I guess I'm skipping out one more time. We'll
Yeah,
see
you've
what
been
the
doing
future
it.
holds.
Right now you're at, I would say every other year, but 2021, 2023 is a no. So maybe 2024. You just said a lot about yourself. I kind of want to go back in time a little bit
Yeah.
before we fully get into Leadville and Leadman a little bit more. But what exactly got you into endurance sports? Was it your dad that originally got you to start getting into triathlons and then getting into those Ironman that you ran?
So he actually started getting me into triathlons, but that was more of the sprint distance.
Hmm.
I think I forget exactly which one I did, but they were around about an hour to an hour and a half of total time. And me and him did those for a while together. Just there was one per year we did every single year together.
Hmm.
And then when I stepped up to half, he wasn't doing that, so I actually got him to do endurance stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
He's always been a biker as well, but similarly, the triathlon started getting him into running, and now he's a pretty good runner now.
Yeah. I remember he did the bike with you, the 50 miler. He did it in 2021, maybe in 2019 too, with you.
Yes, yeah, he did it both years. I did it.
That's cool. What's it like being able to do those races with your dad?
It's awesome, man. I love it. It's really it's really something we can share together. There was one race we did. Unfortunately, he had to pull out, but it was our first. It was a 165 mile gravel race. He was just having some issues. wasn't really feeling it. So we did I think it was 30 miles together, and then I finished the 135 miles by myself.
Nice. And so it wasn't your dad's idea to do lead man. It was one of your friends, you said?
Yeah, yeah. So let's see. It was December 2017.
Uh-huh.
Um, One of my friends posted on Facebook and said, "Hey, Leadville is open. Lotteries are open. If anybody wants to run with me or um, run with me, pace me, crew, anything like that, sign up for the lottery. Maybe we can get in." And I was kind of piqued my interest. I really had no clue what Leadville was before then.
Hmm.
um, so I looked at it and realized he was talking about the run and thought, man, there's no way in hell I'm running 100 miles. Like what the heck? But as I'm on the web page, I realized, oh, there's a 100-mile bike. Well, I could do a 100-mile mountain bike. That I've ridden 100-mile on the road multiple times before, and I guess Ironmans are 112.
Hmm.
Um, so that wasn't an issue, and mountain biking is where um, that's my bread and butter. I feel like maybe not that distance at that time,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I think 10 or 15 minutes later, I was going through the sign up pages, got to the very last page, and realized there was a note that said, if you get picked, you'll be paying to get in this race. And I thought, man, I better figure out if I'm actually free during this time. lo and behold, I got into the lottery the first year. Also figured out at some point that the run and the mountain bike were not the same weekend, so I wasn't even going to see my friend. But
Damn.
no worries.
Still, how did you find your Ironman? Which Ironman did you do, and how did you find those? Like being a participant in Ironman, how do you think that translated into, uh, like a trail bike or a mountain biking, sorry, race?
So Leadville is not super technical.
Hmm.
So I mean, as long as you're a pretty good mountain biker, you just have to be a strong cyclist to get through it. You know, if a pure road cyclist may think it's technical, but anybody that's been on a mountain bike wouldn't think it's too bad. As far as the technicality of it, there's a few spots here and there. But honestly, the year I did the 2018 was Ironman Boulder, and I want to say it was a month before the Leadville mountain bike race that I did. I would say that translated very well into the mountain bike race.
Yeah, you come to Colorado a lot when you're running these events because you live in Oklahoma City. Like, did you like purposely do that because you were trying to get acclimated to the altitude or something?
No. I just did it because it seemed like a cool race. Boulder was a cool race, one of the harder ones, being at altitude. But yeah, so that's about for me, it was around a 10-hour event, and I knew I'd probably be around that point for Leadville, which I ended up doing 10 to 11 for both of those races. So time wise, I'm putting out putting out energy the same amount of time. So I think that's why it translated so well.
Yeah, that's cool. And
I was gonna say, I don't think it would translate so well to the run, just being 20 and 30 plus.
yeah, so what exactly when you did the bike, I know the course is a bit different from the run. Did you look at the course and say, I think I could do the run next year, or like what inspired the change to Leadman?
No. After I did the bike, I still thought there's no way in hell I'm doing a 100-mile run. I ended up traveling. I was driving across the country to visit my sister. On the way back, I checked out the finish of the 100-mile run. Still didn't think I was going to ever do it. But that one friend of mine kept planting seeds. I think you'd be really good at the run. You should try the run. I think you'd be really good.
Mm-hmm.
So with the race being in August and lottery opening in December, he had a few months to get that seed and get it growing. And then lotteries opened, and I started thinking a lot more seriously about it. And like I mentioned about the 50 bike, the bike doesn't bother me at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured, why would I just do the run? I still want to do the bike. So and with the 100-mile run being the event that I would be pushing for, I figured doing Leadman, having a marathon, and the 50-mile would kind of just be training up to it. If I have issues with the marathon, I got something to think about for 2 months. If I have issues with the 50, I got a month to figure it out. Actually, I think it's 6 weeks between the 50 and the 100 run.
Yeah, because your experience up to that point with running was like it was the 2 Ironman marathons that you had done, and then you ran one marathon separately, right? So would that mean
yes.
that would mean that your 4th marathon overall was the Leadville one in June?
Yes.
Yeah. How was that race? We didn't know each other at the time, but we both ran that race in 2019.
Yeah, that was a year where they had a lot of snow. So they didn't actually do I want to say the real course, the regular course.
Yeah, that's
which
true.
is up to Mosquito Pass at little over 13,000 feet. I don't remember exactly what we got to. I think it was 11.2 or 11.3.
I can't remember. We went up the road that goes up towards Mount Sherman, but we did not. You're right. We did not do the official course that year.
Yeah. We got up to probably 11,000, maybe 3 different times. I think there was three legs we went up, but it wasn't as steep, wasn't as technical. There was nothing technical actually. That was just gravel roads. So honestly, doing it the first year, I wasn't that intimidated by it. It was hard. Don't get me wrong. You know, but not as hard as I guess I expected it to be. Only saw one bear and heard about a second.
You're lucky. I've been in Colorado for 6 years. I've like ran and hiked like it's probably like quite a few thousand miles now. Still never seen a bear in Colorado. So I don't know. I think you're lucky. If I saw a moose, and I've seen moose before. Those I think are kind of scary because they're big and they're dumb and they'll charge at you if they feel like they're in danger at all. So moose scare me, but bears, it'd be cool to see them. They just eat berries. So many people are like afraid of them, and I'm like, they're vegetarians.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so then you led up to the 100 pretty methodically with the marathon in June, the 50 in July. Then how did everything progress into the 50 miler? Because that's only like, was that 3 weeks after the marathon? So how did that experience go leading up to the 100 too?
I mean, I just kind of continued training. I was running quite a bit around that point. Probably not doing nearly as much biking, just not needing it as badly. But I mean, I feel like it went pretty well. At that point, I still had never ran that far, so I had no clue what I was in for.
What was the biggest thing you learned from the 50 that you were able to take into the 100?
Take care of your feet. Don't, I guess one thing I knew going into it was like, don't push too hard. So, before, I forget if I did this on the marathon, but before the 50, anytime I'd ever ran trails or any inclines, I was running the entire time. Never do any hiking or anything. But the 50, I remember I took, I guess kind of practiced actually hiking up some of the steeper stuff. Don't try to run everything. That's stupid for that distance.
So maybe like include some hiking in your training. What does like foot care mean to you?
Well, more so where, have some good socks. I guess before the marathon, I didn't have a pair of trail shoes.
I forgot about that. You ran the 100 in August with like a rented pair of Las Sportivas. Was that it?
No, not.
Wait.
No.
I swear,
ran the
was that
marathon. The marathon, I went up at the expo, and because I didn't have any trail shoes, I've been kind of looking and keeping my eye out, but never really found anything. And La Sportiva was at the expo. I started talking to them about some differences in what I had, which were really road shoes, but they had a little bit more tread than at least the ones I normally ran in. And the guy said, "Oh yeah, you can run in these tomorrow if you want." And I was like, "Nah, man, I'm running the marathon. I'm not doing the half. I'm not running a full marathon." And but I went through the expo, got my gear, got all my packet and everything, and I walked back up to him and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna try those out. I gotta go to the grocery store, which is about a 2-mile round trip or so. Like, let me try those out. I'm gonna go pick up some groceries." And I got back and I was like, "Man, I think I'm gonna give them a shot."
So did you buy them or rent them?
I didn't neither. They were a demo.
They were just they were like a demo.
It was a demo
I knew it was
pair.
something like that. That's funny.
But yeah, I remember thinking too. I was like, man, if my feet feel good at the end of this race, I'm gonna buy these shoes if I can, which I couldn't. But they had a pretty similar pair that was my size, so I bought those, and apparently they were a pretty good fit for me.
If anyone's listening to this, I want them to know Coach Stefan does not recommend running a race in shoes that you get the day before. That's Brian's advice, not mine.
Oh, I wouldn't recommend that either. I just figured I didn't have trail shoes. I might as well figure out now if they're good or not.
Yeah.
I figure I got, 3 or 4 weeks to heal before the 50 if something goes really bad.
Yeah, that's true. You're a tough guy. You could push through pain if you got like a blister or something. Um, but yeah, I guess you were probably just thinking like, I'll probably need some tougher trail shoes for the 100 in 2 months. So
Yeah,
that
definitely.
makes sense.
That's what I was thinking.
Hmm. Yeah. And so then you go. So I met you in yeah, just on Facebook. Um, and we had that first conversation, and it was decided I was going to end up pacing you at Winfield that year. It was funny because I like got caught in, of course, there was like a really bad accident on I-70, and I got stuck in traffic that morning trying to get to the race to pace this guy I'd never met before. So I got to Twin Lakes, and you had already passed through at mile 38, and your parents. So I'd still never met you in real life because you live in Oklahoma City and I'm in Denver, and so your parents like they show me this picture of you, and you're pretty easily recognizable with the goatee. So they show me a picture of you. You're wearing like a Texas Tech shirt, and I think you had like a red pack too. No,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
yeah, it was like a red pack. You were wearing like all red with your goatee, and they were just like, look for this guy at Winfield.
yeah.
So I like took the bus to Winfield. It was like a shit show that year. It was so busy at Twin Lakes. It was crazy. So I finally got on the bus and got over there. And yeah, first time I met you was like, "Hey dude." I don't know if you remember. I remember it. Was
I think you
like,
just yelled out my name.
yeah, I was like,
I was
"Brian."
like, oh sweet, I got a pacer, man. Because I left Twin Lakes, and I remember taking something that I wasn't sure if I was gonna need, but I remember taking it thinking I might not have a pacer on the other side. I better grab
Yeah.
this.
What was the race up to? Like what was it like up to yeah, like when I joined you there that first year?
Uh, so I mean, I guess you'll hear people say, you do a 50 and you think, oh my God, there's no way I could turn around and do that again. But it's so different mentally. I got to that 50-mile point, which was what 52 miles, I think. That was at that point the furthest I ever ran. I felt great, man.
Yeah.
um,
I mean, I was tracking you that day and I was like, holy shit, this guy is like going fast. You like shot out of the gates. You were running some like, what was it, like 8 maybe minute miles that year? My memory is probably a
I
little
don't
off.
think
Maybe
I
it
was
was
going
nine
that
minute,
quick.
but you're going pretty fast. And I was like, damn, this guy is just like cruising. I mean, what do you have to? I know the Leadville course is interesting because it's what's really unique, I think, about Leadville, and I think you'll agree with this, is that there's the Hope Pass climb is really intense. But it's not like a runnable uphill. Like the Leadville course is either flat and super fast or like really tough to climb. And I
Yeah,
think that's really unique because you not only need to be a really good climber, but you need to have some speed to be able to finish in under that 30-hour cutoff, which is just, they're very different skill sets, but you need both of them to succeed there. I don't know.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. That's one thing about the course is it's either um, I mean, I guess I know it's this way anywhere, but you're either climbing or you're not. But it's either you're either climbing a big steep climb or you're not.
Hmm.
There's very few spots where it's a gradual ascent or descent.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it can be. There's spots where you're very fast, and there's spots where you're very slow. You
Yeah.
know, like I guess you may have been thinking about uh, the first section there, the first half marathon up to the first aid station.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I felt good. That the first 4 miles is downhill.
Hmm.
There's a small uphill in the middle, which is really not much, a few hundred feet long, and then you're on a basically flat-ish single track,
Hmm.
running around Turquoise Lake. But looking at it right now, I did a 10:23 pace up to that point, so I'd
Okay.
say that's pretty decent.
Hmm.
I want to say the second year I was only like 5 minutes faster.
Oh, all the way to on that first half marathon.
Well, actually, I think I yeah. Let's see. Second year, I was actually 3 minutes slower on the second year.
Okay.
But I was feeling good. I knew not to push too hard, but like I said, it's 4 miles of downhill.
Hmm.
a good mile or so of just flat gravel road.
Yeah, and a lot of
And then,
adrenaline at the beginning, I'm sure.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so you do that first half marathon, and then you go up. You have that climb up to Powerline, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Sure, it's a lot
you're
more fun running down
climbing
it.
up the backside of Powerline. Um, I'd say it's a lot more fun mountain biking it. After the first aid station, you have a real technical piece of single track on the Colorado Trail.
Oh yeah, I camped along that little piece of single track on last summer. That was fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, after you get through that, then you do it's a Sugarloaf climb, which is going up the backside of Powerline and then
Hmm.
down Powerline.
Yeah. What? So you do that, and then let's see. Do you have any like? How's your memory of like all of that? What were you thinking at that point? Do you remember running it your first time?
Um, let's see. The first the first year I did it, I think I was actually running up Sugarloaf, like very, very slowly.
Uh-huh.
But I was running up it at that point. I felt good. It was like 15 miles in or so.
There you go.
Feeling great, man. Downhills, I've never been real good at.
Hmm.
I still got some to improve. I'm definitely better than I used to be.
Yeah.
So going down power line was rough. But then once you get down power line, similar to a lot of stuff, is just flat. Except,
Hmm.
I guess the differentiating factor there is you got road for a few miles,
Yeah.
just asphalt.
What was it like going up Hope Pass your first time?
So let's see. I think it was the Wednesday before I had met up with three other people.
Hmm.
We climbed Hope Pass. Well, maybe half of it or three quarters or so. Before the aid station would have been.
Mm.
Knowing that we shouldn't do too much, but we wanted to get a little bit of an experience of it. But I think it wasn't. I don't think it was too bad. The first time during the race, obviously it was harder. I was a lot. I had 42 miles on my legs at the start,
Hmm.
and a little bit more weight, and knowing that I got to run 55 miles still when I get to the top.
Yeah.
So
And when I saw you, you were feeling really good at the bottom there.
yeah.
Probably, I would say too good. You like went through that aid station in 2 seconds, and I was just like, did this guy like did he eat enough? Like, did he get what he needed in 30 seconds to go back up this? And I was like, I just met him in real life like 60 seconds ago. I'm not going to tell him what to do.
Yeah. That was
Which,
that whole Ironman mindset I was still in,
yeah.
triathlons. Like, I mean, how I was doing them, I wouldn't stop at aid stations. Even on the bike, I'd roll through it at an absolute minimum, probably 13, 14 miles an hour, grabbing bottles.
Oh my gosh.
So, my thought was get in, get out. So I was like, okay, I'll walk at the start and I'm gonna start grabbing stuff. And by the time I get to the other side, I guess I'm done with this aid station. Don't
Mhm.
stop. Don't stop unless I need something.
Yeah, I know. I kind of foreshadowed what ended up happening. A bit of a bonk on the way up. Uh,
Just a bit, yeah.
just a little bit. Oh my gosh. I remember looking at the pace chart and you wanted to run like sub 24, sub 25, and we're slowly like, it's like, okay, we're at 26-hour finish now, 27, 28. I was like, oh gosh, I don't know if this guy's going to make it back up to the top of Hope Pass.
Yeah.
Um, but you made it. We were able to just really get you refreshed up at that aid station that's on was it like a half mile under the top of Hope Pass on the Twin Lakes side, able to get a whole
Yeah.
bunch of food. And how did what was that experience like from your recollection?
That climb, that was rough, man. Uh, I remember starting that climb and I felt decent. I do remember looking at my watch. I had I guess it was giving me climb notifications, so I remember looking at it and seeing 2,200 feet of gain in 2.25 miles. I was like, man, this is going to be a rough one. And I mean, little did I know, holy crap. But we get going, and man, it started hitting me. I went through my first bottle, finished that. Went through my second bottle, finished that. And what do we have? A mile left still?
Yeah, we still had a little bit left to go.
We had like 3/4 to a mile left. And then so I started drinking from your pack. And
Yes.
then I think it was maybe a 1/4 mile from the top. I finished yours.
Luckily, Leadville is the only race that in ultra running that I'm aware of that you can mule at. So that's that ended up working out that time at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I probably told you to eat a little too much food at that aid station. I was like, oh my gosh, he bunked so hard. I was like force feeding you. I feel kind of bad looking back on that.
I think it worked pretty well though.
Yeah, it ended up working out.
I want to say I looked at it after my second year, comparing the two. I want to say we sat there for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, we were there a while.
You just kept getting M&Ms and ramen and water and cookies, all kinds of stuff.
That was probably a little bit too much overload on my part for you. You probably just needed to like have the ramen and maybe some M&Ms or something sugary to give you like that sugar boost to get out of there. I mean, on the bright side, it was all downhill from that point, and we had some pretty good weather that year. So yeah, and then we were able to make it back to Twin Lakes, and yeah, I mean, it was a really fun time pacing you that year. We got back to Twin Lakes. My favorite memory from it was when we were climbing Paraline. If I don't know if you remember like turning around and seeing all the headlamps like bobbling.
Oh,
I just thought that was like the coolest. That was like the coolest thing in the world to see. It's just like all these little headlamps like are just representing another person trying to like climb a mountain at 4 o'clock in the morning to chase a dream of becoming a Leadville 100 finisher. That was like such an inspiring sight.
That was super unique, and man, that was cool to see the first time. I remember it on some of the, not necessarily single track, but the smaller, just farm roads and stuff on the side of the mountain. You could see where you were going because they were just dotted along the trail.
Yeah, right. It was cool. What was your favorite memory from that year?
I don't know, man. There was so much good stuff. I mean, finishing was pretty good. I think
finishing.
I don't know how much you want me to foreshadow the rest of it, but I remember getting
go for it.
I remember getting to the point where I knew it was exactly 4 miles from the finish, and knowing that I didn't have to run anymore, and I was done running. It was done. I was done trying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, we can walk and make the rest of it. So that's what we're gonna do.
Oh man, you made it in it was like 29:46 or something.
Yeah, something around there.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember you had like was it an ankle or a foot injury that made it like a little extra hard that year too.
Yeah, it was 67 miles in or something like that. My foot started hurting.
Oh man, you were a trooper, man. I remember like it was like the middle of the night, and I was like, Brian, man, like we gotta go, or we're not gonna make these cutoffs. And you were just like in so much pain, but you were just like, I don't care what my body tells me, I'm gonna go. And you like started running, and it was really cool to see.
I guess one memory that brings up now is I remember we got back to the road, and we were able to start running again, and I thought, holy crap, we are blazing. I knew we were tired. I knew, I'm just, what are we, 80 miles in, about 75 miles in at that point. I remember like, holy crap, we were moving fast. And then I looked at my watch, and we were doing like a 13.5-minute mile.
Actually, I do remember that. That was before we got to Outward Bound, I think, on that road.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that was crazy. Are we allowed to spoil Space Mountain here, or is that not to be spoken of publicly?
I mean, I don't know anything of not spoiling it, so whatever.
They have shots at an unofficial aid station at mile 85. Is it 85? Top of power line?
Yeah, it's about 85.
Yeah. And Brian was a trooper. He took a shot.
You have to, otherwise the 100 doesn't count.
Both years. So yeah, you ended up. We had some trouble that first year. You know, there was the bonking at Winfield, and then going up Hope Pass the second time. There was the foot injury, and then just trying to keep up with your hiking at that point wasn't as strong as it was in 2021. And so you ended
No,
up finishing in 29:46, but you made a lot of changes to come back in 2021 and finish a few hours faster when you're doing your second Leadman. What kind of changes did you make to have that kind of success?
well, one big one is my run training, which I guess you could really say my walk/hike training. You know, I don't do a ton of traveling to specifically for training at all. I do a few trips here and there, but you know, for the most part, it's just flat stuff around here. So it's like just get in the best shape you can.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing hiking-ish type workouts. You know, I'd go out and do 5K or so, just as fast as I could walk it.
Mm-hmm.
And as you saw, that seems like it paid off pretty well.
Yeah, I know. I was like running to get to keep up with your hike in 2021.
Yeah. Yeah, there was no hike training whatsoever the first time, which probably showed.
Hiking training, and then did you like pace the race any differently in 2021, or was it more along the lines of just make sure you eat more food at Winfield so that we can be a little bit more steady as the race goes on?
I guess I still had a similar mindset of the aid stations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, get in, get out. If you're not doing something, start walking. But that was another thing too, is like start walking, not necessarily running. So
Yeah.
if you need more nutrition, okay, well, grab a sandwich and start walking. Like don't stand there, get in, get out. If you need your feet taken care of, stop, get them taken care of. And then start moving when you can, you know.
Right.
Especially later in the race, the longer you sit, worse it gets to get moving again. But I think the big difference was I think I was going a little bit. I was taking it a little bit easier, even though I was going about the same pace.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least for the first half or so.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, that was the big thing, is just you know, making sure you don't go too hard. I got so much better at hiking. You know, the first big climb at the backside of Powerline, I hiked that entire section. I probably was a little bit slower on the uphill, but big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I was faster everywhere else, and also, like I was saying, I saved a lot of energy doing that versus trying to run up it.
Yeah.
I guess another thing is I had poles.
Mm.
That first year, I first time I ever used poles was 50 miles when I met you.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
You gave me your poles that we both didn't know how to lock out.
Oh my gosh, that's embarrassing. I don't want to talk about it. I didn't know how to lock my poles because I didn't read the directions. And they kept unlocking on us, or on Brian, and that was my fault because I didn't read the. Yeah, I'm just gonna. Yeah, I'm a dude. I don't read directions. I fuck up and then I learn the hard way.
Yeah, I didn't look too much into it. I figured these are this guy's poles. He must know that there's a problem. And then later on, we figured out they just weren't locked out.
I'm the problem.
Yeah.
It was my dad. Later that year, you ended up pacing me at my first 100-mile race, and my dad was like, "Does Stefan not know how to use his own shit?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "I guess not." I think he called me a dumbass and then sent us on our way to go run the race.
Likely.
Yeah. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming out to pace me for. So after I paced Brian at his first Leadville 100 in 2019, that was, I would call it the last piece of the puzzle that inspired me to sign up for my first 100-mile race. So Like 2 weeks later, I signed up for my first 100, which was the Sangre de Cristo 100-mile endurance run. And Brian ended up coming back out to Colorado the following month after Leadville, to be the trooper that he is and pace me for my first 100. And you were out there with me for like, it's probably like 16 hours or something.
Yeah, it was around that.
Yeah, that was a fun time. It was cold, super cold on that trail.
Yeah, that
Um,
was when I had to start singing to you,
yeah.
keep your spirits up in the middle of the night.
Dude, I remember that. I felt so embarrassed. I was like, Brian drove like 5 hours to be here, and I'm gonna DNF like 15 miles into him pacing me. And so I was like, I have to keep going. But really, it was just early on in my ultra running career, and it was like similar to your time at Winfield, where I just needed to eat more food,
Yeah.
to keep going. I think that's most of what it was. I spent a long time at those aid stations, though.
Yeah,
Um,
I remember I guess I think it was 5 weeks in between those two, my race and your first 100.
mhm.
Um, I remember, so you told me everything that all your thoughts on my race, and oh man, I can't believe you were still pushing, you were hurt. Just every little detail that you told me, almost exactly just mirrored what I got to see in you during your race. At the 50, I was like, holy crap, this dude's gonna drop me. Like, he is running so strong. And I bet it was within 5 miles. We were going pretty slow.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true.
you didn't die like I did. I don't think there was any giant climbs like that
Yeah.
where we were at, but you definitely slowed quite a bit after the first 4 or 5 miles.
Oh man, I remember that. I felt so strong when I saw you and then really quickly just deteriorated.
Yeah.
uh, Good times. And then, yeah, and then so 2020, there was, yeah, and then 2020, you paced me at the Bear 100 also.
Yeah.
That was a really fun experience. And yeah, that was a tough race. My shin blew up and I had to limp it in for the last like 25 miles. Dude, I felt so bad for you. I was like, Brian just has to, he's just stuck out here in the middle of nowhere watching this guy limp to the finish line.
I mean, I was
But
limping too.
what was
I don't know
that?
if you remember my blister on my feet.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
That was pretty bad. Last, I'd say 20 miles or so, I was like, man, this blister is starting to hurt. Like, it wasn't even a question of if I have one. It was like, oh, this is getting bad. And I was like, I can't pull out at an aid station. I'm here to pace this guy. I'm here to pace him. What am I doing? I gotta finish.
Oh my gosh. So part of the reason I wanted to bring up Sangre and the Bear, like the fact that you paced me at both of those was also because later in 2021 you ended up also pacing me at Moab 240 and crewing me there. I was wondering, I was really looking forward to asking you this question. What is the biggest difference in pacing and crewing a 100-miler versus pacing and crewing a 200-mile race? Because there's probably a lot of people, maybe who are going to listen to this episode, or just in general, who are, I mean, there's not a lot of people running 200s. And so usually crews, like if you're crewing a 200-mile race, it's your first time doing it. Like, what advice do you have for people who are crewing a 200 versus a 100? Like, yeah, I just asked like three questions in one there, but I was looking forward to hearing your thoughts on all that.
So I guess as far as accruing, I didn't have too much experience with the 100. There wasn't you didn't come out very often. There wasn't a whole lot of I guess there wasn't a whole lot of spots for us to actually crew you at Sangre.
Mm-hmm.
Bear, there was a little bit more, but still not a whole lot until I started running with you. But I will say it's probably similar, but not quite as long. But man, the time you have to wait in between aid stations, find something to do.
Like at Moab.
Yeah, Moab. That was the first
Yeah.
time I'd really actually crewed. The first aid station, I think what was it, 70 miles in?
Yeah, I saw you and Clay at mile like 70. Yeah, it was mile 70 at Moab.
Yeah, that one wasn't too bad because you started the race alone. So the first time we saw you was 70 miles in
Mm-hmm.
at that aid station. But the next aid station, every single one after that, it was like, man, we could drive back into town, get something to eat, and then drive to the next aid station. We still had 5 hours to wait.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing. I was just like, you got to find something to do.
Yeah, like washing
I
my
think,
socks in a Mexican restaurant
oh
at
yeah,
in the
in
bathroom.
their bathroom.
I heard
Yeah.
about that.
Um, but
I asked
yeah, I think I think
for
the
reference.
other half of the crew was sleeping most of the time in between waiting for you.
So one thing I want everyone to know about Brian is that every aid station that I rolled into at Moab 240, Brian was volunteering and cooking up cheeseburgers for people. He was a hero out
Pancakes
there.
too.
I just want people to know that you're not only a badass athlete, but you're a very generous individual who's willing
Yeah.
to give his time and effort to helping people he doesn't know succeed. And I think that says a lot about you. So just I wanted to make sure that people know that you're a badass on and off the trail.
Well, thanks, man. Thanks. It means a lot. You know, one thing that was pretty cool about volunteering at basically every aid station, and then I paced you later on as well. I didn't
Yeah.
didn't volunteer at that aid station, knowing that even though I wasn't that tired, I needed rest. Um, I think actually that I volunteered for what was it, an hour or so that you slept. I had to find something to do, and it helps you keep warm at some of those aid stations where they're a little cooler,
Oh
especially standing
man.
around a grill.
Yeah, it's
um,
fucking freezing in the Moab desert.
but one thing that was really cool about that is um, volunteering. I saw everybody that was like an hour or two ahead of you and maybe an hour behind you at every aid station. So I see the same people because I'd go to the next aid station after you left, and I'd go to the next aid station after that one. And then by the time I'm pacing you, all of a sudden I'm out on the trail with these guys that I've been cooking for the past 2 days.
Yeah, they're just like, am I hallucinating this guy at every aid station for 4 days?
And now he's following us.
Yeah, now he's on the trail with us. What is going on? That's
Yeah.
funny.
And then going to the aid station, the first aid station I was at with you, and it was like, oh, hey, how are you doing? I'd seeing the people that I've been cooking with at every aid station.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, what would you change? I don't know if you're gonna come out to Moab with me this year or not. I don't know if that first experience was those cold nights were too scarring or not. But what advice would you give to people who are crewing a 200? Like
um,
what big changes if you come out again this year? What's the biggest change that you would make as a crew member?
I think one big change is I wouldn't be so what would you call it, liberal with my time at the end. I remember I went and took a nap somewhere and woke up with what I thought was going to be 20 or 30 minutes left, and you had just texted me and said, "Hey, we're at the finish line. We just finished."
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Because you
We
went in
felt
and
really bad. We were so me and James were running it in at the end, and we were gonna wait for you, or we were supposed to meet you at that parking lot that's like not too far from the finish because like a
yeah,
mile out, you're allowed to have as many people run it in with you as you want as a
yep,
participant. But when we got there, it was like raining, and I was like, I don't want to put on my rain jacket because I just don't want to spend the time to do that with like 10 minutes of this 4.5 day race left. But I
yeah.
was like, I know I'm going to freeze if I stop. So we just like ran it in and we felt really bad. But it
What'd you
was,
do? A 24-minute 5K at the end there or something?
yeah, dude, I threw down, dude, I gotta be honest. I was pretty, I was pretty I'm still pretty proud of it to this day. I ran a sub 9 minute mile at mile 238 of the Moab 240
Yeah.
solely off adrenaline. But I mean, that's just what it's like at the end of the race. I don't think I was the only one to do that because if you go to like it, if you go to that highway that runs along the Colorado River and watch people like who are finishing those last few miles, like they're chugging because they know like all the just like everything that they've been through for the last few days is like about to come to this climactic ending that they're going to remember for the rest of their lives. And like you can just see it in their eyes. Like they're I think me and you, we went to go see Ramon, who I ran a lot of the race with, and like even he was like moving along really well. Just
Yeah.
everyone is just running those last few miles off of adrenaline. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What's sorry, I guess we deviated a little bit from
Um,
Leadville there. Um and all that stuff. But
yeah, no worries. But yeah, I guess um, as far as changing stuff for the 240,
mhm.
I mean, obviously, yeah, I would have loved to run in with you at the end there. I guess, definitely cut it a little close. You went way faster than I thought that entire leg, and then obviously way faster at the last few miles. Um, but yeah, besides that, I can't really think of a lot. Maybe try to focus more on actually getting rest for the crew.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I was probably up. Well, I can't say I was up as much as you, but I was up pretty close to as much as you. Those what was it 4 or 5 days?
Yeah, I know James is going to come out again this year, and Lizzie, and they're just like, okay, the biggest change we're making as crew members is we're having two cars, and one is going to be dedicated to sleep for the crew, because I think one of the things that's often neglected in those long races is that the crews are there taking care of their runner for a few days, but the crews oftentimes neglect to take care of themselves the way that they deservedly should be taking care of themselves. So we're going to make sure that there's not only a sleep station set up for me, but also for you guys next time too. I
Yeah,
think we're all just like, oh yeah, we'll just take turns using like the back of the car, and like we set it up as like a big sleeping area, but it just didn't get utilized, I think, the way we expected it to.
yeah,
Especially because I usually like I kept getting to those aid stations at night, and like there's not enough space in the car for 5 people.
yeah.
Oh, I do remember changing in your lap though.
Oh yeah, yeah. At the aid station where I was going to crew you, that was the one time I actually, um, maybe I took little naps. I don't remember. I don't think I did, but that was the one time I actually I guess made it a point to actually try to sleep.
Hmm.
Um, and then I knew that once you got there, it was like I'm out. Once Stefan gets here, I'm out. And
Yeah,
then you got there and you were freezing, man.
it was
And
so
you
cold.
you you climbed in the back with me as I'm laying down.
This
And
is
then
this is mile 170, night 3 for people, just so they understand.
basically in my lap, you're like, man, I don't care. I'm gonna change. I'm taking my shorts off. I don't care. I was like, all right, man, whatever.
I don't care if you see my dick. I'm too tired. I've slept for 2 hours in the last like 72 hours.
Yeah.
uh, good times. Go run a 200-mile, people. You can do it. I actually think most people, if you can run 100, you can run a 200. You just got to want to be out there and be okay being out there for a few days. If you can accept that and try to appreciate the outdoors for that long, then you'll be fine.
I will say, it may sound like a broken record, but there's no way in hell I'm running 200 plus.
I remember finishing Sangre and you were like, so 200 milers next, right? And I was like, shut up, man. No
Yeah.
way. I said that too, but I still think if you told me Brian Steiner is going to run a 200 one day, I'd be like, there's a good chance. What happened to your arm, by the way?
Oh, so let's see. Last time I talked to you was 2 weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
As I was driving to a mountain bike race, just a small local one here. It was a cross country mountain bike, about 2 hour long race.
Hmm.
It was 11 seconds in to this race, during the starting sprint, basically. A guy came into me on the side, and we both went down on some gravel at, I think it was 23 miles an hour.
11 seconds in, you're
So
going 23 miles an hour.
yeah, I mean we were standing up sprinting from the start. So that was actually the fastest I'd been that entire race too. So I ended up getting up, cleaning myself up. Well, maybe not myself, but making sure I wasn't too hurt, straightening up some stuff on my bike, and get out and finish the race.
Oh man.
But
Did
yeah,
you
I got
place there?
pretty much
Sorry.
my entire right arm. I got a little bit on my left arm. I got a little spot on my stomach and a little spot on my knee.
Ooh, damn.
Nothing too deep, but man, the one on my right arm is the entire thing.
And your girlfriend also just had a little bike incident too.
Yeah, she has just about the same injuries, 9 days before me. So the one good thing about all this is, we already have a bunch of gauze stuff, gauze pads, gauze wraps. We have all kinds of stuff to take care of a wound now. Like our first aid packs they're pretty baller, man.
Oh my gosh. Is that just the life of a cyclist?
No. This is the first time I've really gotten in anything this bad, and
Oh man.
definitely for her as well.
Yeah.
But I get to look at her as in pretty much a week in the future. That's what I'm going to look like. So there's a race this weekend. I was asking her this past weekend, said, do you feel like you can go biking? Because I have a race next weekend and I want to know if I can race it.
Yeah. And I should also mention you guys met at the Silver Rush 50 in 2021.
Yeah, we did. Pretty randomly too.
Yeah, well, can you want to retell that story?
Yeah. So there was a guy that I had met there the first year I did Leadman during the runs. He's a guy that's done some of the runs many years. Knows a lot of people up there. He's very, very social. Mike Allen, I'll throw his name out there. But so I met him, I guess, the 2 years prior when I did my first Leadman, and the second year, I stayed at a friend of mine has a hostel out there. I was staying there. Mike was there, and we were doing the 250. I was doing the 250-mile events, and so Mike ended up meeting her, figured out that she was living here as well, and said, "Hey, I know this guy that lives in Oklahoma City. Let me introduce you to him." Because actually we were both staying in the hostel, which is how he met her.
Mm-hmm.
So he brought her to the kind of the finish area, the post race events for the 50-mile mountain bike, and that's when I first met her. Didn't think anything of it at first. I was pretty much like racer's high, just talking about the race. And then I think on the way home I texted him and said, "Hey, can you give me that girl's number?"
There you have it, people. You can find love in Leadville too, not just a belt buckle. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you're in a relationship with somebody who's also passionate about endurance sports. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great.
Yeah, to have like your dad does it, like you do it, like it's in your relationship. Like I think it's really cool that you've like surrounded yourself with like a really great environment I would say a positive environment and like an environment that's conducive to like always making you like I would think it makes you like a better athlete to be around both of them like as frequently as you are.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's definitely not a hindrance at all.
That's good to hear. Do you have any like favorite memories from like whether it's Leadville or like other races that you've done that you like reminisce about? Like maybe such as like meeting her at like that race or just anything else. I was just wondering if there's like any stories that like really stand out to you from like your time like in the sports.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's not going to sound so great, but meeting her really wasn't that big of a thing. I didn't think anything of it.
I'm gonna cut this out for your own sake.
Yeah, just in case she hears this.
You think she's not?
I don't know, but either way, I mean, what was it 2 weeks later? I think we went on a date that ended up not being great, and she went on a second one with me, and from there it was uphill.
Oh my gosh.
But So I guess I met her there, but the best parts of it were definitely not that first year I met her in Leadville. Um,
I was
we
just asking you to tell me a story. You don't got to
no,
put yourself in this
no,
hole here, man.
no, man, we've had good times in Leadville since then, and obviously still going strong, so still having good times elsewhere. Um,
Uh,
but no, I mean, obviously finishing some of those races were pretty great, you know. Um, yeah, the second year in Leadville just being so much stronger of a hiker.
mhm.
That was pretty awesome. Like I had mentioned at the start of this, that first aid station, I was 3 minutes slower. So 12 and a half miles in as a stronger athlete, I was a little bit slower.
Mhm.
Um, and I want to say up until Twin Lakes, I was within about 5 minutes of my first year's time.
Mhm.
Um, and then from there, that's where I started getting faster is at the 40-ish mile mark where being in better shape really started to show strong. And that year I didn't have you at the 50 mile. They changed it up to be at the second time you hit Twin Lakes at 62 miles. It was the first time you could have a pacer.
Mhm.
Uh,
Is it still like that? Did they keep that rule?
yeah, they did.
Okay.
So yeah, I had a couple extra bottles in my drop bag at 50 miles, knowing that I drained all of our water the first time. Of course, when I had the two extra bottles, I didn't even finish the two that were on my chest. So I just carried an extra 32 ounces of water, I think, over the mountain.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, just watching the time, you know, tick away that second year was really great. You know,
Yeah.
I think I went from being maybe up 5 or 10 minutes the first time I hit Twin Lakes, um, before I went over Hope, and then after I went over Hope and came back at Twin Lakes, I think I might have been up an hour and a half, and then just climbed from there.
Yeah, I remember. So when we went up Powerline that in 2021, that whole stream of lights that was behind us in 2019 wasn't there because you were ahead of the whole field.
Oh yeah, that was crazy. I remember that so significantly the first year, that the
Yeah.
second year when we didn't see any lights, it was like, what the heck, man? You know, the
Yeah.
first year you'd see 100 dots ahead of us, and that's the second year it was like we'd see two or three, you
Yeah.
know,
It was.
maybe five or six at the most at points. Um, but oh yeah, I guess the second year I really started to I guess I know what I was getting into, so I upped my training to get better at hiking, which worked very well. And then
Mhm.
I also I know some people that do Leadville kind of look down upon people that do muling, but if it's in the rules, do it, you know.
Mhm.
So that was one thing I took a huge advantage of was muling. So every time we got to an aid station, I'd have you go up a little bit ahead and or stay behind to grab extra nutrition. So I think I'd give you my bottles, you'd run up ahead, fill my bottles up. I would grab a couple things as I was going through, and you would grab extra nutrition and anything for you as well and catch back up.
And that includes Space Mountain. Brian is just like a half mile out. He's like, Stefan, I'm pretty sure Space Mountain is around this corner. Here's my. You like gave me one of your bottles, and you were like, fill this with a hat or like with a shot of a Jim Beam, and
Yeah,
fill
I
two,
think
get us two shots or something. You're just
yeah.
like, go get this, and yeah, it
I
was
don't, yeah,
really funny.
I don't remember if they had any water, but I remember telling you, "Hey, man, I don't have the time to stop. Can you go ahead, get us two shots ready to go?" And dude, we were out in like 20 seconds.
Yeah, we were.
That
They
was
do have
great.
water there for people. I do remember the water
Yeah,
jug there.
yeah.
If
But yeah,
anyone's
either way,
listening and they're wondering.
the big thing was get those shots ready to go, so we don't have to wait for them to fill them up.
Amazing. And so your second year, what was your finishing time? It was like 20. It was 26.
Uh, yeah, it was
20.
26:45 or so, something
Okay.
around there. It was
Yeah, I thought it was like a three
about three
hour.
hours.
Yeah, that's huge. 3 hour improvement.
Yeah, and I think I could have done better had I not twisted my ankle at like 18 miles.
Yeah. Needless to say. Yeah. What's the I know we're at like a little over an hour on the podcast now, so I want to be respectful of your time. We also had some technical difficulties getting the audio set up earlier, but what's like the biggest lesson that either Leadville or like being a cyclist, like what's the biggest lesson you've learned from endurance sports overall that you've been able to apply to your life in general?
I mean, some of it's just take what you get, you know. Like I mentioned, I twisted my ankle the second year, 18 miles in, and I remember a couple girls had caught me, and one of them said something to me. She said, "Are you all right?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah." She said, "Okay, because you were running real strong back there, and now you're not." I was like, "Yeah, I just twisted my ankle." And she, "Oh, I'm sorry, that sucks." I said, "Well, I only have to run 80 miles on a twisted ankle, not 100." You know, try to find the positives in anything. Yeah, it sucked, but at least I didn't have to do 100 miles on a twisted ankle.
Yeah, I like it. How to develop a mindset like that though, like you're a really mentally tough dude. I remember the first year, like no matter what, you were like fighting to get to that finish line despite like your all the issues encountered that day. And then even the second time in 2021, like it was always just an abundance of positivity and a very, I would say, determined mindset because I think you were shooting for 25 hours that the second time, and you were no matter what, no matter like how much time was like slipping by, I was like, we can still do this. And you were just
Yeah.
relentless. And I know you were still a little bit off of like your goal there, but what I'm really trying to get at is how does somebody develop the mental toughness that you've been able to develop over the course of your life to be able to run these races and overcome adversity and have the perspective that you do?
I definitely say it's not easy to change your mindset like that. You know, stuff happens, and yeah, it sucks. You know, but I guess once it's happened, it's happened. There's nothing you can do about it. Just try to go forward the best you can from that point on. You know, try to make the best of the situation.
Hmm.
So I don't know, so something like say mountain biking. If I'm out, I broke a wheel on this race. Okay, that sucks, but well, maybe I get new wheels now. You know, maybe it's time to upgrade. Maybe I or you know, learn some experience out of it, or just change what I can do to make it not happen again.
Yeah.
I guess this wreck that I had a couple weeks ago, I can't say a whole lot about because, like I mentioned, that was a guy had came into me. I really nothing I could do about it. But there's been other times where I've gotten in on wrecks, in very minor on the mountain bike, and pretty much just slide out in a corner, lose grip, and it sucks, but it's like, well, I know I can't go that fast now. So you get to learn your limits and stuff like that,
Hmm.
which you can apply to the next time you do it,
Hmm.
or to other things in your life, and try to improve upon it. Try to make whatever you're doing better the next time.
Yeah. So you think like mental toughness and honing it really comes from like experience, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I'd say it took a little while to kind of get in that mindset, you know. Because like I said, yes, whatever happens, it sucks, but it's already happened. There's why make it worse by getting upset about it.
Yeah.
You know, get upset about it, yeah, but swear a few times. But after that, let's improve.
Yeah. I like it. What here's a question for you. I'm going to ask you to dig deep on this one. I don't know how many episodes you've listened to of the podcast so far. But so you might not be surprised that this question is coming.
Not at all.
What is your definition of greatness?
Oh man, I feel like I thought about this recently. The last time I listened to one of your podcasts, just, man, I wonder what would my answer be if he ever asked me. Unfortunately, I don't remember what my thoughts were on that. So I don't have a quick answer for you. I don't know. My definition of greatness would be, I guess, not everybody has the same opportunities. Not everyone has the same, I guess, social reach or as far as a greater audience. But just doing the best that you are able to do with what you're given. So I guess kind of what I've said about bad things happen as well. It's like just try to improve upon it, let it not happen again. Try to change it up so it doesn't happen again, or get on the path to start fixing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, just doing the best that you can do with what you've been given.
I like it. Thank you. I feel like it. Are you sure you didn't remember it?
No, I don't.
I really like that answer.
Good.
Being able to do the most with what you're given. I like that a lot. Brian, I want to make sure that before we hop off of here, that I want to commend you for being one of the toughest people that I've ever met in my life. It's funny. I meet a lot of people who I think we all meet a lot of people who have never participated in endurance sports, who you tell them you do an ultra marathon, they're like, oh my gosh, you must be so tough. And people that tell me that sometimes I'm just like, you think I'm tough? You got to be my friend Brian, man. You got to meet this guy. Like, he's the definition of tough when you look up tough in the dictionary. So I don't know. You're somebody I really look up to. You helped inspire me to sign up for my first 100-mile race those few years ago. You've helped me get to the finish line of 200 milers and then Moab 240. Like, I really appreciate. To me, like, what really defines you is like seeing you at all those aid stations volunteering at Moab, even though like you weren't in the desert to do that, but you just took it upon yourself to help those other people. I think that you're just how giving you are, alongside how tough you are and being able to compete in the events that you've done as well. I don't even think we mentioned you finished like third at Leadman. I think it was was it third in 2021?
No, I don't think I finished that high.
You were like top 5 or something.
I think it was maybe in the top 10. I think I may have broken into the top 10. If I remember
this
right.
is what I mean though. Like, to be that tough and that, what's the word I'm looking for? Just generous, maybe. Like, I just think you're a badass, man. I really look up to you. And I'm really grateful that we met by chance from that one Facebook post. I don't think there's anybody else that could have become a better friend from that.
Yeah, that was pretty lucky. I'm glad.
Yeah,
I'm glad
that really
for it.
was. So what's next for Brian? Like, do you have any events coming up in either endurance sports, like whether it's cycling or running or just in your life?
I guess I have those local races here, the local mountain bike series in Oklahoma City, or I guess Oklahoma, in general. But really nothing big on the radar. I got a couple things I'd like to get, faster and over long distances for, but near-ish future, nothing really,
Yeah, that was your opportunity to call me out for Margie Jessic in 2024.
Oh yeah. Margie Jessic. Allegedly, they're doing a 200-mile mountain bike race there, and I'm hoping I can get into that. And there's a run also, so I want you to come, and we'll see who finishes in a better time, because the run's only 100-mile. Mountain bike is allegedly very, very hard, but a 200-mile out and back.
You heard it here first, folks. You can place bets on. We got to go to Vegas and ask them to come up with some odds here.
Yeah, see what the Vegas odds are on us.
Yeah, take Brian, the mountain biker, for 200 miles, or Stefan, the ultra runner, for 100 miles. I don't know. I'd probably put my money on you for I feel like you could bike faster than I could run.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't have much mountain biking experience. So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
hope that'd be great if we could find out.
Yeah. What's I mean, before we sign off here, is there any other like thoughts from Brian, life lessons, stories? Is there anything you want to leave the audience with today?
Uh, I can't really think of anything else at the moment to cover.
Yeah.
Uh, I feel like what you were mentioning about mental toughness, that's a big one, like um, and the whole what's your definition of greatness is doing the best with what you have. Don't let don't let the little mistakes within small parts of your life affect you too much. Whether that's twisting your ankle at the relative start of a 100-mile run, or whether that's something bigger in life.
I like
You know,
it.
take what you got and do the best with what you've been given.
Do you want to leave the audience with I don't know how active you are on social media, but do you have any platforms or usernames like Instagram, Facebook, or anything you wanna throw out there for people if they want to follow you in your adventures?
Um, let's see. I really am not active on Instagram or Facebook anymore. The
Okay.
one place I'd say I'm active is relatively is Strava. All my stuff's there.
There you go. Follow
um,
Brian, folks, and give him kudos.
yeah, I guess you can find me by my name, Brian Steiner. So
Awesome. Well, it was a pleasure having you on here today, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. And I'm sure there's going to be people out there who are training for Leadville or Leadman in particular who are going to take away a lot of great information from this episode. And I think there are a lot of other like side topics we hit on that will be just contain some good, useful tidbits of information for people as well who are watching or listening in. Um, yeah, it was an honor having you, man. Thank you so much. I really
yeah,
appreciate
man,
it.
it was a great when you invited me on here. I was happy to do it.
It
If
was
not a little nervous.
it was overdue.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Journey Running Podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please do make sure to like, rate, and subscribe to the show. And as always, if anybody out there is looking for a running coach or a nutrition consultant, you can reach out to myself, Stefan Schuster, at journeyrunningllc@gmail.com, or you can find out more about myself and the coaching platform Journey Running at journeyruncoaching.com. But thank you all so much for listening to this episode, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.